What is going on, GBA Universe? My name is Brandon from Your Average Noob Gaming, and welcome back for the Week 2 edition of the Waiver Wire show on the GBA D-League, where I take a free agent, slot them on a team where I think they could fit, and look at some of the sets we could run. So last week we looked at replacing the New York Shelmets Toxicroak with Empoleon, and I read all the comments you guys left on that, and I realized I did try to replace one Pokemon with another whose role was very much different, and after looking at the teams again this week, I noticed one Pokemon I wasn't really overwhelmed with, and I found something that could replace it, in my opinion, and it does its job better. So it is going to be somewhat more of a direct comparison again, but at least this time it's going to be a Pokemon that kind of fills the same role as the Pokemon it would be replacing. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to the speedy, hard-hitting free agent, Floatzel. Now looking at Floatzel, we can see it has 85 HP, 105 attack, 55 defense, 85 special attack, 50 special defense, and 115 speed. So looking at those stats, we can tell pretty quickly that this thing is mostly a really fast sweeper. That 115 speed is going to outspeed a lot of things in the GBA, and it also has the tools to make itself faster. So you may be asking yourself, Brandon, who would Floatzel be taking the place of? And the answer lies on the Seattle Staraptors, GHart's very own Basculin. Now, why would I think Floatzel would be a better fit on the Seattle Staraptors than Basculin? Well, for one, he basically outclasses Basculin stat-wise when it comes to being a speedy sweeper, having higher attack and speed stats. Floatzel, in my opinion, can also help out GHart's whole team because it can deter opponents from using moves like Will-O-Wisp because of Floatzel's water availability, which prevents it from getting burned. And also, I think it would mesh better with GHart's team than Basculin in the end, just because of its ability to use moves like Agility and Baton Pass. It could help out GHart's team just as much as it could put its own work in. Now, by giving up Basculin, GHart would be giving up some interesting abilities like Reckless, which increases the damage done by recoil damaging moves, Adaptability, which increases your same type attack boost moves, so for instance, Aqua Jet, Waterfall on Basculin, those would be boosted by Adaptability, Rockhead, which prevents recoil damage, and Mold Breaker, which negates the other abilities of other mons. Now, in the end, I don't think this is a huge deal if you were to give this up, because Reckless and Rockhead are only really there for a move like Double Edge, which is the only recoil dealing move that Basculin gets. And I would be willing to trade Adaptability and Mold Breaker for Floatzel's Swift Swim and water availabilities. So yes, I can say all this good stuff about a Floatzel, but what good is it if I can't actually show it to you guys? So it's time to go over to Pokemon Showdown and show you what we could do with some Floatzel power. So before we get started on our Floatzel sets, here's a look at what kind of like a standard Basculin might look like. This one's holding a Choice Band with Adaptability, with Waterfall, Aqua Jet, Zen Headbutt, Superpower, with Jolly Nature, 252 in speed, 252 in attack, 4 in defense. Now, the only problem with this Basculin is it's kind of the only way you can run a Basculin. It doesn't really get much in the way, much more of coverage or anything like that. It does get Ice Beam if you want to run a mixed set, maybe Naive with Life Orb. That's another way you could run it, but this is mainly what you'd basically see out of a Basculin. Maybe with another one would be with like Rockhead or Reckless with Double Edge or Takedown, but who runs Takedown? So yeah, but that's a look at your run-of-the-mill Basculin. Now, looking at our first Floatzel, as you can see, I've reset everything to level 50 to be parallel with the GBA format. This one's called the Setup Willow Away Floatzel. It's got the Life Orb, the Water Availability, so it can't get burned and cut that attack stat. It has Aqua Jet, Ice Punch, Crunch, and Bulk Up. The Bulk Up's just kind of there if you can predict a switch in. If you don't like Bulk Up, you can also use Power Up Punch so you can do some damage to something and get the boosted attack. This one's running 4 in HP, 252 in attack, and 252 in speed with a Jolly Nature. This is maybe what you'd call a standard Floatzel set. I'm not really familiar with PU, so I'm not sure what a standard Floatzel runs, but this is pretty, I would think, pretty standard. Here we have the special personal flotation device set with the choice specs, Water Veil, Focus Blast, Ice Beam, Scald, Hidden Power, Electric, running a Timid Nature with 4 HP, 252 in special attack, and 252 in speed. This would be one of those sets that would just throw your opponent off. Your opponent's probably expecting an Aqua Jet or a Waterfall or something along those lines, and you can come around and hit it with a Focus Blast, which would be absolutely insane. So that's what that set would be for, mainly for just throwing your opponent off. If you've used a physical Floatzel before, and they may have known about it. This one you can just throw in a special Floatzel and just completely throw them off guard. This Floatzel, which I've nicknamed Dance and Sweep, is probably the hardest hitting out of all the Floatzels on this, in this set list right now. It's holding a Damp Rock. It's got Swift Swim, Aqua Jet, Crunch, Rain Dance, and Ice Punch. Now you can see I've made it an Adamant Nature with maxed out attack, 4 in the HP, and 252 in speed. This thing isn't going to be as fast as Jolly or Timid Floatzel, obviously, but with the Swift Swim and the Rain Dance, if you can get the Rain Dance up, nothing pretty much is outspeeding you without priority, and then you can just absolutely hit things as hard as possible with this Floatzel. So if you want a really hard-hitting Floatzel that's still fast, this is the set I would choose. And personally, this is my favorite set out of all the ones I made for this episode. This Floatzel's a little different. It's Love and Death Toxic Floatzel. It's holding the Toxic Orb. You could use Swift Swim. The only reason I have Swift Swim on is because if it's toxic, it's not going to be able to get burnt at all, so you don't need the water availability. Aqua Jet, Facade, Power Up Punch, and Substitute. So if you get out there, you can predict a switch. Substitute, Toxic Orb comes out, you can Power Up Punch, and then Facade everything as long as it's not a Ghost type, and it's going to hit everything hard. And then if you run into a rock or ground Pokemon with high defense, just Aqua Jet, and this thing will hurt people. This one's running the Jolly Nature as well, with the standard Jolly Nature, 4 in HP, 252 in attack, 252 in speed. And not last but not least, the Past the Speed Floatzel, which is rocking the Life Orb with Swift Swim. You could use Water Veil as well on this one. It's probably actually better Water Veil on this one. This one's got Agility, Baton Pass, Power Up Punch, and Aqua Jet. The whole point of this one is basically predicting your opponent. So if you can predict your opponent to go for something like a switch or something that's not going to hurt you, you can go for the Agility and pass off the Agility. And looking at GHart's team, he has a Pokemon like Crocodile, who you can see it has that 92 speed stat, which is not bad, but with an Agility added onto that, you can go ahead and use Floatzel to make a sweeper out of another Pokemon on your team. In this case, you could just pass it off to GHart has Crocodile, Salamence, and you could also use the Power Up Punch and Baton Pass off the +1 attack to hand it off to Crocodile or Salamence as well. So that would be more of a support Floatzel, if you will. It's not going to take many hits, so it's not really that great to hold in a supportive role, but I thought, why not? That could be a fun little thing people might not expect. So those are our Floatzel sets for the week. So that's it for this week's edition of the Waiver Wire Show. I hope you guys enjoyed, and feel free to let me know down in the comments section below what you guys think. Did you agree or disagree with my argument this week? Let me know if I missed anything and what I could have done differently. And remember, it is your comments and feedback that help the show improve, so make sure you get your input in. But until then, my name has been Brandon from Your Average Noob Gaming with the Waiver Wire Show for the GBA D-League, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.